Hello everyone, I am Teacher Michelle and welcome to another episode of Unang Math. For this episode, we will be drawing the graph of this equation y is equal to a over x where a is not equal to 0. In the previous episode, I already introduced this equation. This equation is an inverse proportion equation where one quantity increases, another quantity decreases proportionally. Okay, now, we will be drawing the graph of an inverse proportion equation. Okay, we will find out what will be the graph or how will be the graph if the value of A is a positive number and if the value of A is a negative number. We all know that in drawing a graph, we have to know the x and y coordinates so we can plot the points in the coordinate plane. Okay, let's start with this equation. Y is equal to 6 over x, where a is a positive number. Okay, let's say x is 1 or positive 1. So in this equation, y is equal to 6 over x. If x is 1, then 6 divided by 1, y is equal to 6. Okay, what about if x is 2? Then 6 divided by 2, that means y is 3. If x is 3, then 6 divided by 3, so y is 2. How about if x is 6? So 6 divided by 6, then y is 1. Okay, let's draw or let's plot these points in this coordinate plane. First ordered pair is 1, 6. Okay, x coordinate is 1, y coordinate is 6. So the point is here. What about 2, 3? So x coordinate is 2, y coordinate is 3, so the point is here. What about 3, 2? So 3 is the x coordinate, 2 is the y coordinate, point is here. And we also have 6, 1. So x coordinate is 6, y coordinate is 1, so the point is here. Okay, let's draw the graph. The graph looks like this. Okay, now, how about if the value of x is negative 1? Okay, what will be the value of y? So 6 divided by negative 1, then y is negative 6. If x is negative 2, so 6 divided by negative 2, y is negative 3. If x is negative 3, so this is 6 divided by negative 3, then y is negative 2. How about if x is negative 6? So 6 divided by negative 6, that would be equal to negative 1. Okay, let's plot these points in this coordinate plane. So negative 1, negative 6. So negative 1 is the x-coordinate, y-coordinate is negative 6. So the point is here. What about negative 2, negative 3? So negative 2, negative 3, point is here. Next is negative 3, negative 2. So we have negative 3, negative 2, so point is here. Negative 6, negative 1. So negative 6 is the x-coordinate, negative 1 is the y-coordinate, so point is here. Okay, and then the graph looks like this. Okay, this time, we will be drawing the graph of this equation y is equal to negative 6 over x, and a is a negative number. So let's find out first these y coordinates. So in this equation, y is equal to negative 6 over x. If x is 1 or positive 1, so negative 6 divided by 1, that's negative 6. So y is negative 6. If x is 2, then y is negative 3. What about if x is 3? So negative 6 divided by 3, then this is negative 2. And if x is 6, then negative 6 divided by 6, that's negative 1. Okay, let's plot these points in this coordinate plane. So first ordered pair, 1 and negative 6. So 1, negative 6, point is here. How about 2, negative 3? Okay, 2, negative 3, so the point is here. We also have 3, negative 2. So x-coordinate is 3, y-coordinate is 2, so the point is here. And then we also have 6, negative 1. So 6 is the x-coordinate, negative 1 is the y-coordinate, point is here. And then the graph looks like this. Okay, this time, how about if x is negative 1? So negative 6 divided by negative 1, then y is positive 6. If x is negative 2, so negative 6 divided by negative 2, this is 3. If x is negative 3, so negative 6 divided by negative 3, then this is 2. And if x is negative 6, then y is 1. Okay, let's also plot these points in this coordinate plane. First ordered pair, negative 1, 6. So we have negative 1, 6. So the point is here. How about negative 2, 3? So negative 2 and then the x-coordinate, y-coordinate is 3. So the point is here. Negative 3, 2, x-coordinate negative 3, y-coordinate 2. So the point is here. And then negative 6, 1. So negative 6, 1, point is here. Draw the graph. The graph looks like this. As you can see, the graph of an inverse proportion equation consists of a pair of smooth curves that get infinitely closer to both coordinate axes. Okay, all these graphs have smooth curves. And if you're going to take a look at each graph, okay, let's say for example, this graph. This is our x-axis. This is our y-axis. Okay, if we will extend this graph, as you can see, it gets infinitely closer to x-axis and y-axis. It's not gonna touch the x-axis. It's not gonna touch the y-axis. It's because the value of a and the value of x must not be equal to 0. Okay, other properties or characteristics of an inverse proportion equations are, okay, if a is a positive number, so a is a positive number, the graph passes through the first and the third quadrants. That is if a is positive number. Okay, how about if a is a negative number? So the graph passes through the second and the fourth quadrants. Okay, moving on. For a greater than 0, meaning if a is a positive number, as the value of x increases, the value of y decreases. Okay, take a look at this graph. Okay, value of x increases. So from 1 to 2 to 3 to 6, okay, the value of y decreases. Because from 6 to 3 to 2 and to 1. That is if a is positive number. Okay, what about if a is a negative number? So as the value of x increases, the value of y also increases. Okay, take a look at this graph. Okay, we have here x negative 6. So our y is 1. If x is negative 3, then y is 2. So it gets bigger. Or in other words, x and y increases. That is if the value of a is a negative number. Okay, and for the fourth characteristic or property of an inverse proportion equation, let's find out by drawing the graphs of the following equations. Okay, we have here y is equal to 6 over x, y is equal to 10 over x, y is equal to negative 6 over x, and y is equal to negative 2 over x. All these equations are inverse proportion equations. Okay, let's draw the graph of each of these equations. Okay, let's start with y is equal to 6 over x. So first, we have to know the ordered pair or the x and y coordinate. So if x is 1, then 6 divided by 1, that means y is 6. What about if x is 2? Then 6 divided by 2, then y is 3. So if we will draw, or if we will plot the points or these points in these coordinate planes, we have 1, 6. So 1, 6, the point is here. Next, 2, 3. So 2 is the x-coordinate, 3 is the y-coordinate. So we all know that a graph of an inverse proportion equation is a smooth curve. So we can say that the graph looks like this. So this is the graph for y is equal to 6 over x. Okay, what about this equation y is equal to 10 over x? So if x is 1, 10 divided by 1, then our y-coordinate is 10. How about if x is 2? So 10 divided by 2, that means y-coordinate is 5. Okay, let's graph or let's plot these points in this coordinate plane. So 1 and y-coordinate is 10. So let's say here, so the point is here. What about 2, 5? So x-coordinate is 2, y-coordinate is 5. Okay, since this is an inverse proportion equation, the graph is a smooth curve. So the graph looks like this. So this is the graph for y is equal to 10 over x. Okay, what about y is equal to negative 6 over x? So if x is 1, the negative 6 divided by 1, then our y-coordinate is negative 6. If x is 2, negative 6 divided by 2, then y-coordinate is negative 3. Okay, let's plot these points in this coordinate plane. We have 1, negative 6. So 1, negative 6, the point is here. Next is 2, negative 3. 2, negative 3, the point is here. Since this is an inverse proportion equation, graph is a smooth curve. So the graph looks like this. So this is the graph for y is equal to negative 6 over x. And for this equation, y is equal to negative 2 over x. Let's say x is 1. So negative 2 divided by 1, then that means y-coordinate is negative 2. What about if x is 2? Then negative 2 divided by 2, then y-coordinate is negative 1. Okay, let's plot these points in this coordinate plane. 1 and negative 2. So 1, negative 2, point is here. Next is 2, negative 1. So 2, negative 1, the point is here. Inverse proportion equation, graph is a smooth curve. Graph looks like this. So this is y is equal to negative 2 over x. So for the fourth property or characteristic of an inverse proportion equation, the graph of the inverse proportional relationship or of this equation, y is equal to a over x, where a is not equal to 0, gets closer to the origin as the absolute value of a becomes smaller. Okay, so absolute value meaning we will ignore the sign of the value of a. So 6, 10, so this is 6, 2. Okay, according to this one, it gets closer to the origin as the absolute value of a becomes smaller. Okay, this graph, a is 2. The absolute value is 2. What about this graph? Absolute value is 6. So the smaller the absolute value of the value of A, then it's closer to the origin. Okay, what about in this graph? This equation y is equal to 6 over x. 6 is smaller than 10. That's why this graph is closer to the origin than this graph. Okay, this time, we are now ready to answer this concept check question. The following is description of the graph of the inverse proportional relationship y is equal to negative 4 over x. Fill in the box with appropriate answers. Okay, it consists of a pair of smooth blank that get infinitely closer to both coordinate axes. So it consists of a pair of smooth curves that get infinitely closer to both coordinate axes. Okay, number 2, it passes through the blank and blank quadrants. Since our A is a negative value, so it passes through the second and the fourth quadrants. And for the third one, in each quadrant, as the value of x increases, the value of y also increases since value of A is a negative value. Okay, now let's answer this simple problem. As shown in the diagram, when point A, negative 6, lies on the graph of the inverse proportional relationship y is equal to negative 12 over x, find the value of A. So this is the graph of the inverse proportional relationship y is equal to negative 12 over x. Okay, so if it's an inverse proportional relationship, then the equation is y is equal to a over x, or it can be x times y is equal to a. Okay, in this problem, it would be better if we will use x, y, or x times y equals a. So what we need to do is we will just substitute these values in this equation. So x would be a and y would be negative 6. So a times negative 6. What about a? The value of a is negative 12. So this is equals negative 12. So this is negative 6a equals negative 12. So divide both sides by negative 6. Simplify. So a is negative 12 over, or divided by negative 6. That would be equal to positive 2. So in this graph, the x-coordinate is positive 2. So the ordered pair would be positive 2, negative 6.